Good day and welcome to another episode of Tanda Tula Safari Snippets with myself, Chad. I'm not in a car, as you can see by the fact that my feet are also in the frame. Yeah, it's been a while since I posted something. We have just been quite busy at the lodge and has made getting out a little bit difficult, or even sitting down to do things a little bit more difficult. But I have found time and put together this episode, which has got a wonderful collection of cats. Really good. So definitely worth spending the next 15 odd minutes or so watching this to catch up on what has been happening here at Tanda Tula with our resident and sometimes not so resident cats. The first series of videos that I actually wanted to put together was going to just be the solo Sofa Safari Snippet. Too many S's there. So I've combined a few video clips around this, but it was an incredible sighting that I was fortunate to have recently of a mother cheetah with her 3 sub-adults that we arrived at a perfect clearing, short grass, 100% perfect visibility, first thing in the morning, and they were finishing off an impala ram. And they're really at the bottom of the pecking order. So the fact that they've killed such a big impala and have been able to eat most of it without anything coming and chasing them off here right out in the open is pretty impressive.
Is it because
Aside from the stomach, does any part not good?
So what will happen when the hyenas eventually arrive here? They'll come and eat the stomach. The stomach lining's good. That's nutritious. It's just what's in there is a bit, well, literally. After their meal, some of the cheetahs moved off and rested a little distance away from the carcass.
is that bird a warning?
They are just shouting at these cheetahs. It's something called a crowned lapwing. Although even with their fat, bulging bellies, some seem very reluctant to leave anything for the scavengers.
Could a crocodile get them?
Yeah, we were talking about that live safari thing last night with Brandon, and he said they'd watched this video on YouTube of a cheetah going to drink water, and this croc just grabbed it, down, gone. And the mother cheetah just ran away. She didn't know there was nothing she could do.
Mm-hmm. What? No,
Yeah. And once the scavengers get in there, it will be even less. Eventually, though, they had all had their fill, and day was warming up, so they wandered off over towards a termite mound where they rested, and we left the family just chilling out in the most quintessential setting to conclude a fabulous sighting. So after seeing those cheetahs, my same-setter guest was also fortunate enough to be able to conclude their Super 7 by finding some wild dogs the next morning. For once, our pack actually hung around for longer than a few minutes, and they moved relatively deep into our concession. We watched them hunting before they eventually lost us, and late in the morning we left heading back north towards the den. So Super 7 sightings aside, these guests also had some pretty special viewing, and this was the scene that allowed them to end off their stay with us here at Tanda Tula. Doesn't get much more African than that.
Yeah.
Yes, somehow y'all one up yourselves.
Oh, just wait until tomorrow morning. So it's what we used to call acacia trees, a leopard and an African sunset. Stunning settings aside, it was generally a very good month for our leopard viewing, and we got to see these cats far more regularly this month than we have been seeing in the past. Definitely helping that the bush, as you can see behind me, is starting to dry up a little bit. You'll have to excuse the low quality of this next video, no fault of my guest who sent this through to me, but it was on WhatsApp, heavy crop, and I needed to fit the screen, so it is pretty grainy. However, it gives a fantastic example of Thumbela in action. We'd been tracking her all morning, eventually found her on the gabbros in the east, and followed her. She ascended a small long-tailed cassia, and while she was sitting there, she spotted something just below her, climbed down the tree, snuck round, and it was for a scrub hare. Amazing to see how she moves so close to the ground, using the rocks and the grass as cover. She eventually got behind the bush, and unfortunately from our position we couldn't see the action unfolding, but you may see a little glimpse of her as she runs through the bush after the scrub hare, and from the sounds in the video you can hear the end result. We also caught up with Marula Jr. one evening, as she was unsurprisingly up in a marula tree feeding on a steenbok kill. The afternoon after our sighting of Thumbela, we had a lovely sighting of Miyaleti. She was on a mission, well fed, and we couldn't quite piece it together, but as she got close to the area where she had previously left her son Shigodo and hadn't actually been back to him for 3 weeks, he had just been sitting there actually withering away. We were getting quite concerned by his condition, because he wasn't having much success with hunting anything bigger than mongooses and scrub hares. And she got into the area where she had last left him and started doing this. This calling was a clear sign that she was looking for him. Her fat belly was a clear sign she had a kill. And although we spent much of the afternoon with her and she didn't manage to find him, when the guys followed up the next day, they did find her with her impala kill. Sadly, there was no sign of Shigodo at that kill in the morning, but when we followed up in the afternoon, we found him resting right in the long grass next to her. Unfortunately, he couldn't get to the kill because of the hyenas around, but later in the evening after we had been there, he shot up and got a much needed meal. Following that, they made their way towards our camp, and for the next several weeks, probably 2-3 weeks, he made this his base, and we found him very regularly wandering around on the outskirts of camp, coming through camp at the pool. He was sitting on the roof of my house one evening or afternoon. So yeah, he's really settled very nicely into this area, much to the dismay of our bushbuck and nyala population. It wasn't only Miyaleti and Shigodo hanging around camp. A couple of k's away, very close to our starbeds, we also had a wonderful sighting of Thumbela and her son, who are both doing very, very well. We don't often report on buffalo herds on these Sofa Safaris, or haven't over the last year and a bit, because they've been very rare. But fortunately, over the last month, we've had at least 2 herds that have been spending a lot of time in our area, giving us some fantastic viewing. One afternoon we found them running very excitedly towards our camp waterhole. They spent several days going backwards and forwards from that. And this is why they were running. Come have a drink with us. And a few days after that, another herd in the area joined us for a very, very memorable sundowner stop. And it hasn't just been the big five that have been in abundance. The last few weeks have been really, really enjoyable from a plains game perspective. Wildebeest, zebras, giraffes, impalas, kudus, all over the show. And it's been such a nice addition, return to form for our area. They were a bit absent in the beginning of the year, but it looks as though the herds have come back. Now, it hasn't just been on game drives that the game has been good. Even just spending time watching the hive of activity around our camp's waterholes has provided for a lot of great viewing. Just another morning at a waterhole. Nyalas. And a herd of wildebeest coming in. But moving back to the big cats, I'm sure the lions have been on some of your minds. What is happening with them? Good news is River Pride is doing very well. All 5 of the youngsters, or the 4 little ones and the bigger one, are doing fantastically. They've been moving around quite a bit in the area, but cubs are growing week by week. The moms have also been hunting very well, and although we had a period where we were a bit worried that they were a bit malnourished, they have bounced back. The females caught a zebra quite recently close to Nkari Homestead and were joined by a huge number of hyenas. So just as you can see, the mother lionesses were not having any of it and succeeded in keeping the hyenas at bay. After the pride had finished the kill, they rested for a day, and we followed them that next evening up towards the dam where the whole pride gathered to drink in an unforgettable scene.
Get that.
And with the River Pride having been active, the Nara males are never far behind. Although they didn't join up at the zebra kill, the next day they were present, and we got to, on several occasions over the last couple of weeks, spend the evenings listening to these males do what they do best. Now, the advertising of their territory has obviously worked, and we were very excited when a couple of days ago Ginger reported that he had found these Nara males with some lionesses, but it wasn't the River Pride, it was the Mayambulas. The 4 mothers from the Mayambula Pride had returned. We've been seeing signs of this pride for the last couple of weeks, but just never caught up to them. They were always crossing out.
Kind of half
One
right
day,
here.
tracks for the limping Nara male followed the pride out. They obviously met up, he would have succeeded in chasing the, I think it's about 12 youngsters away, the 10 that we saw growing up here, plus 2 new additions. And these youngsters have now moved off. The females, to try and appease the males, have broken away, and we got to see them mating, and these females just throwing themselves at the 2 Naru males. It's a very interesting development. Whether it is short-lived, I don't know, but from experience, when males come like this, and stable males come into an area like this, there's a very good chance that they are actually now going to set themselves up as the new dominant males of the Mayambulas. How this is going to change things in the future for the river pride, I cannot be sure now. There's enough space for both of these prides to coexist. Whether the males, the 2 Naru males, are able to actually successfully protect and defend both prides and both territories is up for debate, especially with the limping one. But for now, they are spending a lot of time with the Mayambulas, and we will see how long this union continues, and just how it's going to change the dynamic of our lion populations going forward. I imagine because of where they're living, the river pride will move a bit further to the west, and hopefully back to the north, back to the area where they used to reside, because they remember they had been pushing deep into Mayambula territory. Now that the Mayambulas are back, maybe it will restore some balance to lions through the rest of our concession. But anyway, that is not for now. That is for us to solve and observe in the next couple of months. For now, I hope you've enjoyed this little catch-up from our Sofa Safari series. And until next time, please, as always, stay safe, look after yourselves, and be sure to check out our other social media feeds on Instagram and Facebook for all the latest updates of what's going on. Till next time, take care. Cheerio.